see with the microphone condom, but this is a tutorial. Kyle, producer. You see this line right here in the grill?
Yeah.
That's called the asshole line. All right. So if you are holding a handheld mic, you hold it back here on the actual handle. If your hand crosses the asshole line, then you become an asshole because that line is where the diaphragm starts. So if you put your hand past the diaphragm, basically what you're doing is you're megaphoning. So you're trying to accommodate for the fact that you don't have any balls.
Okay.
And you're trying to like amplify into the diaphragm. And you cause a lot of feedback and a lot of clippy. Shit gets clippy.
And then also,
yeah, you put your hand in front of that cocksucker, right like that. That's what he says when people just make a fist and put it right in front of your cocksucker like that. And that's how you know what your proper mic placement for talking on a recorded microphone is.
I have to remember that.
yeah, this is all stuff that you need to
So
memorize.
are we recording? Because there's like protocol, right?
Yeah, I'm already recording it.
That guy's actually kind of funny. I like watching him.
Oh yeah, you betcha.
As much as I would like to punch that guy right in the fucking mouth.
Because he's got horrible taste in beer.
Oh, I know.
But fucking Busch Light, God.
Which guy?
The Busch Light guy.
You
apparently.
betcha.
You betcha.
You betcha, yeah.
He does some funny videos.
Yeah, he's from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Sounds like it.
Maybe Wisconsin. Probably Wisconsin.
I think Cramming, Minnesota. Probably.
Cramming?
Cramming, Minnesota.
I was going to bring up that story. I'm glad you remember it.
I just talked to her the other day
At Cub Scouts?
At Cub Scouts.
Yeah,
and
we're cads.
And I told her she's like, remember, you guys came over to this place. I was at our parents' house.
The church?
No, well, next to the church.
The rectory of the church.
Because her dad was like helping the boys do like some woodworking stuff for like their requirements. And he was like, she was like, remember you guys all came out that first night we all met? I'm like, was I talking in an accent from Cramming, Minnesota then?
No. That was a different girl. You've lied to several girls at Tom's Donuts.
Oh, wait, that was a different girl.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, Joy and Lee, the first night that we met them, because as Shakespeare, one of the things that Shakespeare had going for him was that the three of you, Josh to a lesser extent, were very good at self-plugging. So everywhere you went, you were trying to get people on the Shakespeare train, and she said that she was from Minnesota.
Yeah.
And you were like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Minnesota, Cramming, Minnesota." And she's like, "What? What?" She's like, I lived in Minnesota, and I've never heard of Cramming, Minnesota. Look it up. It's there."
This is before smartphones.
Yeah, this is before smartphones, so you can straight up lie to people, and they're like, Google says you're wrong.
No such thing.
But no, the night with the accent, that was fucking amazing.
Yeah,
there was some girl that worked. I'm pretty sure she worked at Maurice's in the mall, which was a bad idea on your part because you also worked in the mall. So it's not like you're never going to see this chick again. But you and Bowen made up this story that you guys were Canadian.
Calgary.
Bowen was from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, which still to this day on his Facebook it says he's from Moose Jaw, which is gotta commend him because he's been living that life for like over 10 years now. But you had the worst accent. You sounded like the other guy from Trading Spaces, Balky. And you were from Calgary. I'm from Calgary.
It's more Middle Eastern.
And
yeah.
and you told these girls that you guys were from Canada and you were in a band with Josh and you guys were staying at Auntie Ruth's, which was not Josh's aunt. That was Jordan Crutch's aunt.
Yep.
Where some garage band practiced in her garage. But yeah, you had this horrible accent and you ran with it. And this girl, drunk as she was, she bought it hook, line, and sinker. And then like 5 days later, you walked into Maurice's and you were like, "Hey, you remember me? I'm from Calgary." I got to tell you, lady, I really talk like this. I'm not from Calgary. I'm from Bryan.
Because she wanted to go out sometime.
Oh, I bet she did because you were a handsome fucking man. Looking like Freddie Prinze Jr. all the time. Damn, you look good.
Dapper, if you will. She did, and then that's when I was like, well, I can't pull this off her. But then she didn't want to hang out after she found out it was actually
Weird.
local.
She was into an international affair.
She wanted to get some maple.
She wanted a Canadian citizenship. She wanted free health care.
Oh yeah.
So, if anything, this pretty much starts off what we're doing today. Welcome to 12FU with Adam and Jake. This week we have got longtime friend of me and Jake.
I guess I'm friends with Kyle too.
And Kyle's here too. As that board over there says, we welcome Curtis Murphcat Agner to the show.
Yay!
Yeah,
I
there's
wanna
only
put
one
that
part
up
of
there.
that.
Yeah, I put that up there.
I walked right past it.
Yeah.
There's only one part of that I knew for years, and that was the Murphcat part.
Okay, well, I guess that was like one of the two questions that the group came up with, and I guess in media normally you try to bury the lead, keep them compelled, but I don't know. You guys want to start with that?
Well,
No, it doesn't matter because
let's
once they downloaded the episode, it's downloaded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
My street cred's already up.
But anyways, first off, before you tell that story, I want to kind of explain why you're here. One thing about Murph is that he is a goddamn encyclopedia of your past. A tome. The tome is your brand new one.
A tome. If you
Ow.
ask your wife, she probably knows all about them because that's usually what they refer to, like old medical books as, like big books that are full of just useless random ass information.
That makes sense.
So we wanted to
And
have
that's
Murph
me to
on.
a fucking T, I guess. I'm big, useless information.
So this is going to
Full of
serve almost like as a sequel to the back fourth episode with, it was a little bit behind me and Jake, but also introducing Murph himself, because Murph has got quite a background. He's been a photographer, a promoter, sound man since goddamn forever.
Yeah.
I mean, Boy Scout extraordinaire.
Look how excited
got
he
the
sounds
credit,
about
got
the
the credit
sound
card
man.
bills to prove it, man. Woo.
Hey, was anybody else there the day that Murphcat got his first credit card bill when he found out that the 0% interest fucking ran out? I was.
Son of a bitch.
But yeah, to pick back up on that story that you wanted to do, let's start off with the Murphcat name. Murph, how did you get such a monkier
Moniker?
moniker? Monkier.
Monkier. My
Monkier.
monkier. The monkier of Murphcat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he mentioned Boy Scout extraordinaire, and that's really where a lot of, like, it's kind of like the butterfly effect of my life, really. I was like 11, almost 12. It was summer camp. My older brother worked at summer camp, and his name is Murray. He's not passed away or anything, so his name still is Murray. He worked with this dude who could not say his name for the life of him, so he always called him Murphy, and so he became Murph Dog. And then I came to camp as a camper, and he worked on staff, and so all the staff knew him, and they were like, "Hey, that's Murph Dog's little brother." But me and my brother are nothing alike. Not like personality wise, not don't look alike at all. You would never know we're brothers. So he was Murph Dog, I became Murph Cat, and then it just stuck. It stuck, and then when I was 16 years old, I showed up at a Boy Scout meeting. It's a district roundtable kind of thing, and this cat was there named Sean Jones, and I had like seen him one or two times, but we never really talked. And one of the other people was like, "Yeah, Murph Cat," and he goes, "Whoa, your name's Murph Cat?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he goes, "That's cool." And so then the Murph Cat name kind of had like a second, not just at camp. It was like a day to day. Anytime I went to something Boy Scout, all these 16-year-old kids are calling me Murph Cat, and it stuck. And then Sean Jones was the frontman bass player for a punk rock outfit called Celery. He was one of the first I think he actually was the first guy to do a Paul Quana show. They rented a room there, and they were just kind of like, "We want to do a show. We got the keys to this building, whatever, punk rock." So they opened the doors up on a Saturday night, let a bunch of kids in, charged them $3. They put up like skate ramps and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Like a bunch of kids came in, tore it up. I think there's like 2 bands playing, just Celery, and then these kids from Antwerp. I believe they were called Malignants.
Oh, I remember those guys.
Yeah, and they were like
The brother and the brothers were bass player and drummer, And the bass player, like, he just looked like, oh, my brother plays bass. We could let him in the band. Because, like, all these other kids are like metal kids. And then this kid was like a chubby little kid with a Hawaiian t-shirt on. But, playing like Pantera Walk. It was
they were definitely like new age metal kind of kids. But then, like, the Murphcat moniker kind of stuck with me because, like, the guys from Celery met the kids from Defiance, Fat Mike, not of NoFX.
Thank you.
Some garage band guys. And they all called me Murphcat. And then when I was like 19 years old, Murph Dog was selling a little bit of weed around Putnam County. That's where I'm from. I'm from Ottawa. And I could not do anything without the law being like, oh, this kid's up to no good. Getting pulled over all the time. I was getting harassed by cops. I'm like, man, I got to dip. I got to get out of town. So I moved to Defiance, and I moved in with Fat Mike, not of NoFX, and his girlfriend, baby mama, Jennifer, and their son, T-Bird. And I was just like, this is a new start for me, so I'm going to lie. I just lied through my teeth, and I just went by Murphcat. And people would always come and be like, well, why do they call you Murphcat? Is your last name Murphy? I'm like, yes, it is. So William James Murphy was born. William James Murphy. And then, like, MySpace, my name was Murph Delgato. Like, as a photographer, that's how I signed all my, anytime I gave out a picture, I always signed the bottom of it, Murph Delgato, like digitally, not like actually signing it. I'm not cool, I never really printed any of the pictures I took. I just kind of like.
I don't remember seeing many.
You didn't need to print them, dude, because they're on MySpace.
Yeah, I just gave people CDs. Like, here you go. Like, when somebody asked me for like a band, like a whole band picture, and I would kind of spend some time with some Photoshop. I didn't use Photoshop. I used Microsoft Picture at 7.0 because I got it for free, and it worked. It worked great, man. But, I would kind of border it, and then I would put Murph Delgato in, like, the little cursive font at the bottom. And two of those actually ended up in the Crescent News, but they cropped out my signature because they're wonderful, ethical.
Great people.
Great people there at the Defiance Crescent News.
How much money did you make off of that?
Nothing, because they credited him as staff photographer.
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about their credits.
Nope. They would credit those as staff photographer. And
very nice.
One of them was for The Culprits. And actually, I think they were kind of good on that because I'm pretty sure Rick paid for that advertisement. It was like a paid ad kind of thing.
I have no idea.
I think it was when you guys were doing that Warp Tour.
Yeah,
that Warp Tour thing.
They
were trying to get some eyes on that.
We won the promo pack from whatever that promotion out of Toledo was, and then
you guys were in some kind of battle to do the Warp Tour, and he was trying to get eyes on it so people would show up or people would vote for something or another.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, but I gave them, that was the picture that I took with the low aperture in front of the carousel at the Defiance County Fair, which was pretty cool. Had all the streaking lights and stuff like that behind you. You guys were on like, stand still, motherfuckers. And the thing was going on behind you. So it was just a big streak of light. You guys are standing there.
Yep, I remember.
I remember there was one of them.
I thought the one that went in the paper was the one that we had when we were in the old Ford.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
That was a Mercury, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's one of those.
That was cold as fuck.
It was one of those Alan Jackson songs. I wasn't sure which one.
that was the cold as fuck day. Like, oh yeah, Matt just had this old Mercury chop top parked out in front of his house, no fucking windows.
Yeah, that was the one that made
it was snowing.
Very cold.
Well, I do. I remember that. That's like one of my culprits because I always remember one of the takes. Jared Grace was playing trombone for you guys. Remember emo Jared Grace?
Yeah. Couldn't hear. Deaf.
Yeah, he was deaf.
Yeah, have a deaf guy in the band.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That was a long running joke with him. Huh?
Huh?
You and Keith? Huh?
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 I fucking hated that kid.
One of the takes, he must have moved, and he had like a whole Street Survivor thing going on where the light went across his face. And it like looked like he was burning.
Yeah.
Remember the street? You guys remember the Street Survivors? Leonard Skinner.
I was gonna say, isn't that Leonard Skinner? Yeah.
They released an album called Street Survivors, and then in the picture, like there was like them standing on the street. There was flame behind them. In the editing of the picture, it looked like one of the guys or one or two of the guys were engulfed in flames, and then they later ended up dying in a plane crash.
Yeah. So Jared Floyd is now dead.
I don't know. I haven't seen him for years. Maybe he is.
I could tell you why.
Jared Floyd's somebody totally different, though.
Jared Grace.
Grace.
Yeah, Jared Floyd. That was a different Jared that you didn't like. That was the guy from the comb over.
Oh, okay.
You just don't like anybody from Pauly.
This is true.
You're one of the
Present company included.
You're one of the. You're kind of one of the lucky ones, Kyle. That's just because
Still out on that one.
you used to drive us to Tom's Donuts when we were incredibly drunk. I'll get back to the wall. We'll round around to that story. But yeah, I took the pictures. I took pictures a lot, and then somebody stole my camera. Don't know who. Got some suspects. Not gonna call anybody out, but somebody stole my camera, and then it was like, whatever. At that point, everybody was a photographer, though. Remember, like, everybody was a photographer. Everybody had like a MySpace page, like, oh, I'm a photographer.
Oh,
like,
because digital cameras were just...
Yeah, because digital cameras were cool. Like,
Yeah.
I got this point and shoot. Yeah, you don't know crap. I spent a lot of money on a Canon DSLR Rebel. I mean, it was the cheapest one that they had, but it was still like $1,000. And this was like 2005, 2006. And then it ended up getting stolen, and now you can buy them for like $250. Something like that. I don't know. They're cheap.
Ever get the itch to get back into photography? Or that's just long gone and your new love of guns and guitars?
Guns and guitars. Yeah. No, I think about it. But I don't have a lot of time.
Right.
That's the thing. Like, there's the hours in the day, you know. Got 2 kids. I got a pretty demanding job. Like, I worked 71 hours last week.
Buh.
I worked 59. I worked 71 hours in 7 days last week. I worked 59 in 6 this week.
Buh.
And I kind of felt like I was slacking a little bit, too. I was like, man, just 59? Whatever.
So one thing that I don't know if we've said quite yet, but you have lived with everybody in this room at one point or another.
Well, I lived with Kyle's stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
Because
it happens.
I kind of I lived with Jake for 3.5 years, but for a good year plus of that, it was just basically living with his stuff because he was doing his deed, which hey man, thanks for that.
Yeah.
We
Whatever.
didn't have to do it.
I did because they made me sign a contract.
Yeah, you take 18-year-old kids and promise them a bunch of stuff. But yep.
It left a bad taste in my mouth. Look. Nah, whatever. It is what it
Yeah, I lived with Jake, and he was living with some other dudes, sleeping on a couch, and I signed a lease on an apartment. Had 2 bedrooms. He came over and looked at it with his roommate, and then behind his roommate's back, he's like, "In here, let me in here." Yeah. And so then he ended up moving in, and then 3.5 years kind of just flew by. Lived in 3 different places.
One place I didn't even look at. I just came home to a new house.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, and I had my bedroom set up. I'm like,
Is it the Ravine house?
Yeah.
Yep, the Ravine house.
That was kind of funny because he's like, dude, it's all going there. He's like, you still want to live? I'm like, yeah, all right, we'll find a place. And then we found it. So then they didn't tell me where it was because it was across the street from,
actually, you coerced Mike into telling you where it was at.
Did I?
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Mike, you just melded him, just got him to do what you wanted him to do, and he's like, God damn it, I wasn't supposed to tell you, was I?
No.
But yeah, story behind that was we lived in the duplex, and I signed the lease, and Jake was just kind of tagging along. The landlord was cool with it, and when he was getting ready to deploy, if he had a lease signed, they would give him housing money.
It was a decent amount of housing money.
Yeah, it was a decent amount of housing money, and we were going to talk to the landlord about adding him to the lease, and then we were like, well, why don't we just try to find someplace else?
Yeah.
And we found the beach house right next to the river, 4 bedrooms. They wanted like a lot of money for it, but we found 2 other dudes, one of them being Kyle, the other one being Wolfgang von Govang, who he was in Shakespeare with Jake at the time. They just started it up. And then Kyle met a girl from Chicago when he was installing her mom's cable. And then we never really saw him after that. Like, he lived there for like a solid 3 weeks. But, yeah, I mean, we had every cable channel that you can imagine, and he gave us $200 a month. So fuck it.
Yeah.
Those were the best roommates. I had one just like that downtown when I lived next to Tom's. He would pay his rent every month, but he was living up in Toledo, and so I had the whole run of the place. It was great.
Is that Brian?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Mr. Vasco.
And then we signed that lease in like the beginning of September, and then the end of July that next year we get a letter like, hey, you guys got a month to find a new place to live. Like, what? We've always paid the rent on time. Oh, I'm gonna bring some other people in there. Like, do something wrong? Nope, just gonna get you out of there. All right, way to be a dick. So started finding, and I was over at a buddy's house, and I noticed that the house across the street had a for rent sign in it. So I called him. I'm like, hey, give me that number. And he's like, oh shit, you want to move into the neighborhood? I'm like, fuck yeah.
Bring in Jake.
So we ended up, I looked at the house. I liked it. It was a nice house. The rent was affordable. Jake basically gave me free will to do anything I wanted. His mom had his power of attorney, so she signed his portion of the lease. And then he came home like 2-3 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
To a brand new house. And like, hey, here's everything for you. Cool.
God, you get to skip all of moving and everything. It's the worst fucking part.
I've moved plenty in my life, though.
Yeah. His little brother helped out.
Did he? Okay, yeah, because he owed us.
Jason came.
He
brought
owed us.
Pawpaw's truck.
Yeah, he owed us, though, because that time that Fat Mike, he called me up that one time. He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's like, hey, check this up. The police are everywhere. I need a ride out of here.
And you were
I was doing army shit. I was
Yeah.
like down in Columbus or something like that. And so Fat Mike, not of no effects, like fucking drove outside of Defiance and then like pulled over onto a bridge. And I guess like Jason jumped out of the woods into his truck, like scraped up knees and shit.
Yeah.
And fucking. And then I got a text
Johnny Law.
message. I got a text message said the Eagles landed, headed home. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, dude. But yeah, so he owed us one for, I don't know, avoiding another underage. Because he was still in high school at that time. Had to have been. Yeah, he was in high school. Yeah, he was a senior or something.
So after you lived there, you moved downtown.
Actually, I moved back in with my parents because I'm lame.
It happened.
I
I did
moved back
that
in with
too.
my parents for a while. Then I moved in above Happy Fun Time Arcade, and that was a pretty sweet deal. And then you were trying to coerce me into renting this house on Ravine right next to the railroad tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Then Matt was like, dude, I'm trying to sell my house. And I'm like, all right. So I bought it. You lived with me for...
About a year.
Well, you moved in like September, and then you moved out in like the end of April, early May. And I never kicked you out.
Yeah, you did.
I just told you, hey, Susan's pregnant and we're going to have a kid. And you still live here, but things might be a little cryy. And you were like, I will find a new place to live. So you did.
Let's be honest. Like, if I was there and I had to compete with that, it wouldn't have been good for either of us.
Yeah,
so.
it wouldn't have. We probably wouldn't be doing this podcast right now.
Right.
We'd probably be like,
So
remember
it
that guy
was-
we used to hang out with, Murphcat? Then he
Yeah, fuck that guy.
the crying ass baby.
Him and his fucking kids.
Can we loop that?
Him and his crying ass kids.
But yeah, it was a great time.
Good times.
You
You
were
met you started dating your wife pretty
right
soon
after
before-
I left. Yeah.
You were actually, the funny thing about Adam and Jake is that I was the third wheel on both of their first dates with their wives.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Because Jake's first official date with his wife was watching TV on the couch while I was trying to book a show. Because you didn't have Wi-Fi back then.
Yeah.
So
Well, the what?
you had to
Wow.
plug into a modem. The modem was in the living room. I'm sitting there trying to book a show. I'm on my old laptop typing away, and they're hanging out on the couch. And then I had to get this done. There's only so many hours a day. Pretty much as soon as I was like, all right, guys, I'm gonna leave you alone. And then the next thing I know, like his bedroom door closes.
She's going to love that you told that story.
Whatever. I think she's been mad at me like, I know she likes me.
Yeah, she
But
loves you.
we've butted heads the entire existence of our relationship. So
Yeah, her and I as well. So
yeah,
it's a
I think she
common-
just loves dudes that challenge her. I think that's what it's all about.
I just challenge her sanity.
But yeah,
As all good husbands do.
then I was working all afternoon trying to get a baby's room ready, and Adam wanted to go to Fort Wayne to see Masked Intruder, who I was kind of down with, but I'd never really listened to a bunch of them, and I ended up going with him, we went into the weirdest bar ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like we walked in and we were like, how are they going to have a band here? And then, oh, there's an entirely different room. Cool. Because it was like a dive bar, and it had a big old wood bar, and there wasn't a lot of room. But then
Think
they had,
Erie, but a little bit smaller.
Oh,
and
damn.
yeah. But then they had on the other side of the wall, they had an entire open room with this. It wasn't a big stage, but it was a tall stage.
I think there was a drum riser.
Yeah,
I think
that
that was
was a
it.
little riser.
Yeah.
But that was a killer show. And when we're going there, he's like, I think that Brittany girl is going to show up. I don't know. I told her about it. And then we drank a shit ton of old style. Dudes from Mass Intruder were awesome because they were just hanging out after the show. Still wearing ski masks, so you didn't know who they were, but they were talking. And then we went and ate huge cheeseburgers at Steak and Shake.
7X.
7X
The
cheeseburgers.
7X cheeseburger at Steak and Shake.
I'm intrigued. What is that?
It is a hamburger. Cheeseburger, sorry. Let's get this right.
Meat, cheese, meat, cheese, meat, cheese, meat, cheese, meat, cheese, meat, cheese.
Times
Stack
7.
it high.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's, yeah.
I went 5 high in high school one time, but I never went to try to go
So
7.
we did 7.
Murph
like-
has always preached Clean Plate Club.
Clean Plate
I
Club,
could
man.
not Clean Plate Club that.
I'm very.
Did you? I think
very
you did.
familiar with
Fucking
this.
hey, I did. What the fuck kind of question is that?
I never even heard the term fucking Clean Plate Club until I fucking met this fucking big bearded bastard over here. Like,
All right, well, segue. Let's go into something. There are some terms that are notorious.
That are assumed to be yours.
Yeah, that are like
They're
people are like,
Murphisms, but
yeah,
they're not
It's
really?
a Murphcat quote, and there's 3 of them, and I stole them all from Jake. And people know me for these sayings, and
I always thought they were you.
nope,
Okay.
stole them all from Jake.
You tell the sayings, and then I want to hear the story that Jake is, because I think some of these got some stories.
I'm sure they do, but I don't know anything.
Oh,
Okay,
they'll come
well,
back
the
to
first-
you.
What Murphcat neglected to tell you about the 3.5 years of him and I living together is how much I drank.
Yeah, lots of drinking.
All right, what's the first one, Murph?
Well, the first one is the least famous, but if the day I can't do my job drunk is the day I turn in my gun and badge. That's what my dad always said. The day I can't do my job drunk is the day I turn in my gun and badge. And
Yeah.
my dad wasn't a cop. Jake's dad wasn't a cop. But we say that, and people get a laugh out of it.
I
But
just
yeah,
started saying that at work recently.
Jake said that shit, and I was like, "Oh man, that's funny." And then I started saying that, and like, "Hey, what's the thing you always say?" But people are like, "Your dad's a cop." I'm like, "No, he works for the power company, or worked. He's retired."
Now, where did you get it from?
I don't know.
You don't know? All right. Interesting story. Go on.
Yeah, and then
I just say things.
this one has a really interesting story. We were at a party at Matt's house, which is now my house, but at the time it was Matt's house, and the night's winding down. We're all in the living room, and Jake and Lindsay were about to leave, and Matt was talking about 9 and said something kind of insulting about it, and then Lindsay was like, "He's like my best friend," and then she got kind of fussy, and as she was they were walking out the door, I must have been the only one. I heard Jake say to her, "Are you going to be a bitch your whole life or just tonight?" And I was like, "Oh,
I just like how it just dropped.
So I would be like, people would say shit, and I'd be like, "Are you going to be a bitch your whole life or just tonight? Or are you going to be a pussy your whole life or just tonight?" Mainly when we're out drinking or whatever, and people, "Oh, I don't need that extra shot." Like, "You going to be a pussy your whole life or just tonight?"
Many a times you have said that to me. You
Yeah.
texted it to
I
me last
texted that
night.
shit to you last night. "Are you going to be a pussy your whole life or just tonight?"
And my reply was, "You've known me long enough. What do you think?"
Whole life. But yeah, and then the third one, the story behind that was before when we were living at the beach house, Jake was doing a mobilization for his unit, so he was pretty much living at what do you call it? What would you call it? Your armory?
Yeah.
In Walbridge, him and a couple other sergeants, and they were trying to get everything together, but mainly they were just collecting army pay, doing a little bit of work during the day, and just getting shit faced all night long.
Yeah, I loved it.
And
The things I did for my country.
and one day somebody else showed up, and they're just telling stories about, "Oh fuck, we did this the other night," and the one guy was like, "You see, this is why we don't have nice things. Like telling all our fucking stories, and these were supposed to be, we weren't supposed to be doing this shit. You're not supposed to be fucking telling stories about it." And I was like, "Oh man, that's why we don't have nice things." So now, like, whenever I'm somewhere and somebody's fucking shit up, I'm like, see, that's why we can't have nice things. And normally when shit gets broken, I'll be screaming out, that's why we can't have nice things.
He usually would yell that at me.
Light bulbs?
Light bulbs?
You want to tell that story?
Are you ready?
Oh, we tell that story because you guys have alluded to
Hey,
this.
watch the power.
Yeah, watch the power cable.
Yeah.
You guys have alluded to this, and he may have told Lindsay that it was the death rats, but the death rats were not there that night. It was the doctor and the priest.
Yeah,
Do you want to tell the story? Or you want him to tell the story?
he probably remembers it better than I.
Okay, so it was it was a Thursday night. They gigged at Miami Erie. We came back to the Ravine house. We were down in the basement playing re-roll.
Side note, I do know this part. Lindsay'd fucking cleaned the house top to bottom the day before.
Yeah,
She'd fucking spick and span the whole motherfucker.
That's racist.
Is it?
No.
no,
Okay.
no, that's the name of a commercial
That's the name
cleaning
of the
product.
cleaning
Okay, never
product.
mind.
Get your mind out of the gutter. We're not talking.
You're
about,
racist.
We're not talking about Hispanic people. We're talking about cleaning products.
Is that-
You're
Do
racist.
you see how Paulding County just
Wow.
fucking went right over to that?
Your anti-racism made you racist.
But yeah, Lindsay,
Anyways.
completely cleaned that fucking place as the saint that she is, and because she lived with Murphcat and I, and fucking yeah, like hey, we're not very clean dudes.
Yeah,
Like, I still get yelled at for it.
Bachelor as
I was
fuck.
like, you knew me when we met. Like, I don't clean things. I'm not very good at it. So it's been 12 years. Like, I'm a little bit better now.
I was thinking about this last night. I'm like, man, this is gonna be like kind of like old times, because Sundays used to be the day that me and Jake would clean up after Saturday night. Clean, air
Clean.
quotes.
Yeah.
Basically pick up all the empty bottles and maybe wipe up some shit, and then marathons all day long.
Fucking
Dun dun. Law and Order, Special
Law and Order
Victims
fucking
units.
Special Victims Unit, man. Goddamn Elliot Stabler. I'm
See you like a motherfucker.
gonna fist fight that dude. Christopher. If I ever see Christopher Maloney on the street, he better watch the fuck out.
Mariska Hargitay.
Because he is Elliot Stabler to me, and I think I can take him in a fist fight.
I think you're going down, man.
No way, dude.
All right. But anyway, we had gotten back from Erie. Those dudes came over. It was like me, Jake, Bowen, Studi, Reed. They had a friend, and Amber Bat. But we were just trying to play re-roll, you know?
Just trying to roll.
And dude, when you play some re-roll, you get some beers in you. And Jake, God love him, but he does not know when to say when. And he gets to the point where he blacks out, and he's like, you can just see that the lights are on and nobody's home, and he'll just do some crazy shit. And we were drinking, and somehow a light bulb got broken. It got changed, and then it got broken again, and then it got changed, and then it got broken again. And we were down to the very last light bulb, and I was having a dad moment with Jake, and I could see in the eyes that there was no reasoning with this man. But he's sitting there holding the long neck bottle by the neck, and I got the light bulb in my hand. I'm like, no, you are not going to break. And he's just looking at me like, yeah, dude, totally, yeah. And I could just see in his eyes this shit-eating grin, like, as soon as I screw this motherfucker in, it's getting shattered. And sure as shit, my fucking hand was barely away from it. We got showered with glass, and we're sitting there in the dark. I'm like, well, I guess fucking re-roll's over, man. We ain't got no more light bulbs in the house. And then Lindsay was worked third shift at the nursing home.
Yeah.
And she comes home in the morning, and Jake's fucking passed out. I'm passed out. There's broken beer bottles and fucking broken light bulbs all over the basement. Just shit strewn all over the house. She's like, you motherfucker, I fucking cleaned this whole place. And I guess he told her that the death rats came over, but death rats, I don't think the death rats were ever at that place. Doctor and the priest.
It was my go-to. What the fuck? She's like, what happened last night? I'm like, oh, the death rats come over. They're completely out of control.
Well, you wouldn't put it past the death rats, because those motherfuckers.
It made sense, right?
You'd have said, hey, the doctor and the priest, those guys are pussies.
And I was just like, they're completely out of control. I don't ever want to see them again. They're out of your element. But it didn't. Yeah.
That drummer death rat, God, he was Singer Death Rat, man, he was doing handstands, putting feet prints on the wall.
Because I think before we started breaking light bulbs, I remember correctly, is I came up with a good concept. Parties like when you're done with your beer, you just throw it on the ground,
yeah, probably.
and it just shattered the glass. And then the drunker you got, the more fun I got because I don't want to fall over. Right? Yeah, it was a good game. Only recommended to play inside of a basement that isn't, but it was good.
Can't really break bottles on carpet. Doesn't work that well.
I could do it.
Maybe 22-year-old Jake. 22-year-old Jake definitely could have done it.
Oh man,
I remember one night at the beach house. It was a hard night of drinking. And
What are you sighing over there?
because I don't know what he's gonna say.
Jake, we had a refrigerator. Like you walk through the doorway of the kitchen, the refrigerator was right there. And he was just going from the doorway, running into the door frame, going back, running into the fridge, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. And I'm like watching him do that. And then all of a sudden I hear him quit hitting the fridge. And I look over and there was a Powerade and a hammer laying on the kitchen counter. And Jake's lined up over top of this Powerade with the hammer. And I'm like, no. Because it was my Powerade. I wanted to drink that shit in the morning. Because if it would have been somebody else's Powerade, I probably would have let him do it.
It would have been like fucking blackout. It would have been like blackout Gallagher up in that bitch.
And then he would have come down in the morning and be like, why is the floor so sticky? Like, because you smashed the Powerade. Now get the mop.
Murphcat was always really good. I'm like, dude, why is my elbow so sore? Last night, you kept running through a fence, and then you jumped off this picnic table into another picnic table, thinking you're Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh, yeah.
And then that's when I stole some cinder blocks, I think, too, and then we made a shoe bench.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, sinners.
Thank you, sinners. Yeah, I kept fucking jumping through this table all night long, just fucking full on. And I think Josh told me once that he's like, you guys were really contemplating about stopping me, but then you guys decided as a group, like, nah, he'll just get mad. Just keep letting him do it.
Yeah, I remember that night you stole the cinder blocks. We were leaving, and you were like, wait, pop the trunk. He gets out of the back seat, and then comes back like 30 seconds later. It's just like, threw the cinder blocks in the trunk of my car.
They were like shoe benches, right? Like, because you could put your shoe in these little spots right here.
We ended up, we took the cinder blocks, yeah, and you could put shoes in the cinder blocks, and then we put a shelf on top of it.
Yeah.
A piece of wood on top of it. And you put your shoes.
It was very Bob Vila of me. That's all I'm just saying.
Yep.
How many cinder blocks were there? Just two?
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah, it was like, they used them as like a drink table out on their smoking patio. And
Oh, shit.
stole the whole shebang.
Did you jump through the fence?
Yeah, I knocked that bitch over. And Nate Boff, friend of the show, blues extravagant. What's the word I'm looking at?
Extravaganza?
Yeah, there we go. He told me that it was like the most profound thing he's ever heard in his entire life. As I said, he's like, I went through the fence like a sandbag through a waterfall. And he's like, oddly enough, it made sense. And I was like, that was really good. Because I did. I went right through that fence like a sandbag through a waterfall.
Jake, Mike, and Nate used to refer to themselves as the tricycle.
Yeah,
It was more like a big wheel
there was.
because he had two tiny tires and one big motherfucker. But they called themselves the tricycle, and they went out drinking a lot. And one of the times when Jake was deployed, I came home from work one morning. Because I work third shift, Matt Egler. I've worked third shift pretty much predominantly since 2007.
Douche.
So, douche. But anyway, I come home from work one morning, and I walk in the back door. It's at the beach house. And I look at the front porch, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? We had this weird glass, like the frosted glass. You couldn't really see through it unless you got right up there. And there was a sinner's stool and two Miller Lights sitting on this stool on the front porch. So I wasn't going to ask any questions. I walked out the front door, drank those Miller Lights, and sat on that stool. And then later, Nate Boff goes, hey, did you get the stool and the beers? And I go, yeah. And he goes, me and Mike stole those from Sinners last night. So apparently there was just a fucking 6-pack sitting there. And Nate grabbed 2 of the beers when he was walking out. And then when Mike was walking out, the bartender goes, hey, you want to grab that or close that door for me? They had that stool sitting in front of the door to prop the door open. Mike's like, yeah, I gotcha. So he just takes it and he throws it in the back of Nate's truck. So Nate goes to leave for work in the morning and he's got this stolen stool and 2 beers in his truck. And he's like, I need to ditch these. So he drives past our house on the way to work and he drops them off on the porch. And I had some fucking morning beers. And I still got that stool. It's in really good shape.
Does it say Sinners or is it just a
no.
black stool?
It's just it's the no back and it's got like the butt sculpt to it.
Okay.
Like when Beecher bought those, he probably spent some money on them. And like I said, that was 12 years ago, and it's just been hanging in my room. I went to Sinners a couple months ago, and they still have some of those stools, but they look pretty rough.
I'm just trying to decide whether or not I have to edit some of this shit out.
It's statute of limitations.
Yeah.
It's been over a decade, and if you
well over
You're
a
name
decade.
checking these people.
if he wants it, hey Beecher, if you listen to this and you want it back, you can have it. I've also got a Red Bull drink mat, and I'm pretty sure
I got that one too.
No, Mike got that one. Mike stole that one. He shoved it down his pants from half a nip.
Oh,
What in the fuck?
buttery nipples.
Buttery nipples.
Buttery nipples.
Buttery
Thank
nipples.
you. That's where it come from.
Can we just get half a nip? No, you have to pay for the whole thing. Okay. It was a joke because she was wearing a bustier and she didn't have anything to boost that bustier. So top part of an areola was hanging out of there. Half a nip.
Holy
There's
shit.
Half a nip story.
That all
Half a
just
nip?
came back
Holy
to me.
shit.
We've been saying half a nip all morning, and Adam's like, "What's the story behind that?" And I'm like, "It's good content. It's good content. Save it for the show." But yeah,
Christ. So basically, what you're telling me is Jake likes to drink and steal things, and then you end up with them.
yeah.
I thought
Yep.
they were wound up with a couple extra bar stools at the house.
We had some Spanky's bar stools.
That's where I was thinking. I've heard.
Sorry, Ian.
I know where some Spanky stools
We
are,
had some Spanky's bar stools,
and I know who took those too.
Yeah,
Was it you?
yeah, it was him.
Oh, I knew. Actually, there's a funny story because I think Mike was trying to steal one night, and he threw it over the porch out back.
Yeah, that was way later.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well,
Inspired by my actions.
then Brett's poached it. If I was a bar owner, I'd be like, "Why the fuck
Why do we let these
my
fuckers?
goddamn stools?"
Why do we let these fuckers in here? Jesus Christ!
Teaching the next generation. That's
Well,
what
that's
we're
because
doing.
one night of Jake's drinking probably paid for 3 of those bar stools.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh shit. Well, I mean, you did a lot of drinking, and a lot of fucking shit with Jake
A
here.
lot of fucking.
A lot of fucking.
Not fucking with Jake.
Drinking and
Jake
fucking.
did a lot of drinking and a lot of fucking.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the
Oh
book,
shit.
the book "Fucking and Punching" should have been about Jake.
Oh yeah. That's Whoops.
So
Whoops.
one of the things that you also do a lot of it was promotions and whatnot, and you were kind of passionate about all age booking for a while there. What?
All age booking is a double-edged sword because you make it all inclusive, so everybody can come, and you get a lot of flack from parents because you're trying to corrupt their kids, but really all you're trying to do is give them a safe, fun evening. I mean,
Right.
A lot of parents don't understand, and then you get like the older people that might want to go to the show, but they're like, I don't want to hang out with a bunch of kids. I don't want to drink beer. Or I want to drink beer. You can't do that there unless you like go hide behind the Skylark in the alley.
Don't know anything about that.
Don't know a damn thing about that. But all right. Well, I guess I'll start from the beginning. My first forte into all ages shows was, I already mentioned Sean Jones and Celery. He did a handful, like about a half dozen. And actually one of those was the first time I met Jake. I met him previous to the hot spot, but we weren't. Like, he was too cool for school.
Still am.
Still are. But yeah, he did a handful of shows at the Paulding Kiwanis, and they went pretty well. And I was just kind of like a tag along at that point. Like, I helped out. I did the door. I helped people carry and stuff, but I went to all of them, and I was having fun. And basically, the way he booked shows, he didn't even play. Like he was kind of professional about it, because like a lot of guys, they'll book shows just so their bands have a place to play. He didn't play all his shows. There was a lot of shows where if he got other bands, he didn't play. And there was a website, like a message board before all the socials and stuff like that, called ToledoPunks.com. That was like our bread and butter back in 2000, 2001. Because basically it was like a GeoCities, you know what I'm talking about? Like a free web page.
GeoCities, Angel Fire.
And you could, like, they set up this big forum, and then you could kind of piggyback on it, and you could make a tab for your band there. So you could go there, and there was like 100 bands, and you could see when they were playing, maybe listen to some of their music, find out who was in it, their story. And he used to book a lot of bands off ToledoPunks.com. So there was a lot of Toledo bands coming in. And one of the last, I think the very last one he did, there was a bunch of punk-ass kids from Bryan played that. And pretty sure that was February of 2002.
Yeah.
I was at that show.
Was it the 19th or 22nd? It was one of those 2 dates. I remember that.
Well, I remember it was Murphcat memory. I went to that show. It was on a Saturday night, and it was before I did my orientation for full-time at KMI, which was February 21st.
Ooh.
So, yeah, the 19th would have been right.
Look at that, motherfucker.
Yep.
17 years later.
Yep. And I saw Jake. I saw him play. And then the next time I saw him was at the Hot Spot, which is where he remembers me from. I was in school in Lima, and I was taking some college classes, and Jared Griffiths was also going to school there. And this was like the glory days when you could like just walk into buildings on schools. Like there weren't like, you didn't need passes and shit like that. I walked into this building because I was going to hang up a poster for an all ages show in Findlay, and Jared was standing there. And I was like, hey, man. We talked for a bit, and he was like, yeah, I'm playing Saturday at the Hot Spot. And I'm like, cool. I'll check it out. So I went to that show at the Hot Spot, and one of the best memory I have of that is I don't even remember what Bad Religion song it was playing. You guys were playing. It was one of them.
Probably you. I don't know.
And you were playing, and Jared like turns around and he goes, play it faster. And you look at him like, really? And you just tore into it, and he's like, not so fast. But yeah, like you took that as a challenge.
Was that an ingrained show?
That was a split-second show.
It was split.
Right. Who was with him? Come on, guys.
No, it was split second.
Split second only?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think
I was
at
like,
that one.
I saw Jared and Split Second play there quite a few times, and they would play 2 hours worth of material, and that was crazy for some teenage kids, you know.
Because I went to the Hot Spot a couple times, and I think it was an ingrained Split Second show. So I wondered if it was one that I'd seen you.
I don't know. I
It
just
was
saw them.
only split second.
Yeah, I just saw them there.
That's all I
And then
remember.
they paid him like $30 or whatever, and they were trying to pay Jake $10. And he's like, "Fuck you! I don't want your money." And I'm like, "Dude, that's like a pack of cigarettes and 2 40s." And he's like, "Give me that $10."
And I was 15. Yeah, I couldn't drive yet because
Yeah.
Rachel had to pick me up from. I had my driving, like I had to get so many hours driving, you know, like with your instructor and
Permit.
shit.
That's
Yeah,
so weird because I think Rachel picks up the current driver or drummer too.
Entirely probably has something to do with 40s as well. But yeah, because she had to pick me up and pick up all my drums. And that day that we played that show, like I went and hung out with them at, I presume, his dad's house, and I played for like.
Was it in a basement?
Yeah, we practiced for a couple hours, and then we had a show later that night. And I was pretty familiar with most of the material. There's some shit that I hadn't heard, and I was like, yeah, fuck, I gotta put a beat to it. This is stupid.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, because he was really into that beat. Then they made it work because they didn't really have really good drummers before that, and so they really weren't like. That's all they knew was like the 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and that was like my least favorite drum beat to ever play because like it took no talent, and I hated doing it. But that's what they knew and that's what they liked, and it's like ugh. But it is what
Matt
it is.
Agler tried getting me to drum for a Split Second one time, and I was like, dude, I play bass. He's like, dude, it's real easy. What the fuck?
Yeah, whatever, man. So that's why I was like, fuck you guys, I don't want your money, just take me home. And then Murphcat had to remind me, like, I can get 240s and a pack of smokes.
Fuck
He
yeah.
was looking out for you at an early age, man.
He was.
Yep.
And for all those years later, dude, it's like,
You can't get shit with $10 now, man.
mm-hmm.
Fuck that.
You get a pack of cigarettes. That's it.
Yeah, it's maybe a pop.
don't even smoke cigarettes anymore.
And you
But-
quit drinking too.
Yeah, pretty much. For now.
You want PBR?
Nah.
Nah. All right. Well, yeah. So we start off Paulding, and then there was a little bit of a scene in Defiance. There was a cat named Andy Newberry, who was a friend of mine from Boy Scouts, and he did not play an instrument. He was not really in a band, but he kind of belonged with me. Like in Boy Scouts, you learn a lot about like organizing events, like leadership and you know, kind of putting all the ducks in a row. And he's like, I could put on a show. So he did 2 different shows at the Armory in Defiance, which I don't know who owns that. I think Northwest Ohio Community Action.
NOCAC, yeah.
Community Action Commission owns it. I don't know who owned it back then, but they were cool then. I tried to rent it one time, and they not very cool. But he did those shows, and then it kind of lulled for a while because, like, Sean and Andy moved away. They went to college, and Sean did a few Paulding shows when he would come home. He did one. I remember he did one with Cockswat, which was his like celery tribute band. It was just him and Kyle, not this Kyle Clark. And like they didn't have a drummer, so Kyle played guitar, Sean played drums, and they called themselves Cockswat because they weren't celery. They played some celery songs, and I think they played some Minor Threat, Bad Brains, kind of like, you know, the more thrashy punk stuff. And then there's some kids kind of took up the mantra of the Paulding show, but they were not, like, they weren't organized at all. And they did like 1 or 2 shows, and then Jerome took it over. Like, Jerome kind of swooped in there, and that's when the trifecta shows, as you called them, came about. And at that point, I had no ambition in being like a show promoter or anything like that. I was just like, I was taking a lot of pictures, and I was hanging out with bands, and I was doing cool shit. I would help people load gear, do some stuff. Culprits, Cookie Puss, some garage band, Comb Over, which was some kids. There was some kids from Hicksville called Style Stew that played a bunch of those shows. Jerome brought in some other bands from Fort Wayne. They had those bands from Jersey that came through on a tour one time. Like, they did some cool shit there. And then that just kind of like dissolved. There was the park shows in the summer. And then my kind of forte, my like first delve into show promoting was actually, I had a friend who I met through Boy Scouts, a guy from Flint, Michigan named Wade Merrill. And he was the club manager for this joint called the Flint Local 432, which been around since the 80s sometime. A guy named Joel Rash started it. And he was like a college kid, and he was not happy with the Flint music scene. So somebody's like, well, you think you can do a better job, then why don't you? So he did. So he started the Flint Local 432, and like now it's a nonprofit, still in operation. Like, I don't even remember. They got to be going on 30 some years. I don't remember when exactly it started, but they've been going on for a long time. And Wade was the manager there, and he was friends with Sean, and he was friends with Crutch, and he had booked Celery, and he had booked some garage band at local shows. And one of the rules for the local is if you're not a local, if you play, you have to try to show trade. So they were supposed to show trade with bands. And Wade called me up one day, and he was like, hey, I have booked 2 bands from your area, and they have not fulfilled their show trades. And it's making me look bad with all the other guys on the board. Like, you just booking shows for your friends, or are we trying to stick by the rules and stuff like that? He's like, I got this band called the Swellers, and they need a show. And I'm like, all right, I'll check them out. And it was just like, mind blown. I'm like, these guys are how old? Like, they were all in high school, and they were writing really good songs, and they were like really good. And I'm like, yeah, I could probably do something with this. So I wanted to do a show in Defiance. I tried that, the Armory place. We don't do that anymore. Nobody knew how to get in touch with anybody. Nobody I knew how to get in touch with anybody at the Skylark. And I ended up booking it at this place in Van Wert. Because I knew the guy who ran it, I knew his son from Boy Scouts. And we got a pretty good deal on it. We made all these people from Defiance and Paulding drive all the way to Van Wert to watch a Swellers show. But it was, in my opinion, worth the drive, worth the money. Swellers were a BA band. Some garage
Was that
band.
just the first album at this point in time?
They hadn't
recorded yet?
They had, I don't think they had recorded their EP.
Yeah.
But they had not pressed it.
Okay.
Like the summer, this was in the spring. The summer was, they were going to press it and they were going to take it out on the Warped Tour. So they played that show. They had a lot of fun. And then they just kept calling me. And I'm like, all right. So anytime they were going out on like a stretch, they call me. And basically Defiance for a lot of their first runs was the first stop.
Right, because they're coming out of Michigan. There's only one way to get to anywhere else is through Ohio, right?
Yep.
So
And
straight south to us.
So they really didn't know anybody in Toledo, and they were kids. Like literally, Garrett was the oldest guy in the band. He was 21. The day I met Nick, he turned 18. Jonathan, before their first tour, got his driver's license. Like he had his permit, and like before they went on tour, he like barely got his driver's license. His birthday's in June. So he turned 16 and got his driver's license. Lance was the same age as him. And so they were young kids. They had a lot of support from their parents. They had a lot of talent. They were smart guys. And they went out on the road, a bunch of kids. And I helped them out the best I could. And that kind of set the model for me, was that whenever I did a show, I never wanted to do a local show. There was a bunch of people did local shows. I always tried to find somebody that was on tour that wanted to play a solid show. So a bunch of solid kids, sell some merch, have some fun, drink some beers with me and Jake afterwards. Maybe. And that was my model for setting up shows. Like every show that I did had somebody from out of town. Usually out of state. I had a band called Near Miss from Austin, Texas. We had Benson from Buffalo, New York.
Oof.
The Hoodies from were they from Buffalo?
Jersey, I thought.
No, they were from New York.
New York.
But
those kids.
no, they were from Rome, New York, which is outside of Buffalo.
But those kids were some babies too, right?
Yeah, they were kids. That was their.
young.
I remember they got out of the van and they were like taking pictures, and I'm like, first tour, and like, yep. Giving Chase was from Philadelphia. Trying to think, I had some other band. Scouts Honor from Peoria, Illinois. That was one of my favorite.
Did you ever bring Alucard, or is that just me?
Alucard played that show for you.
Okay, I didn't know if they came back.
No, they were on tour with the Swellers.
Right.
What was that one metal band that just wanted to, they were fucking rock solid, dude, but then they just wanted to go to bed when we got home.
An Airbag Saved My Life.
Yeah, that's who they were. But they
had the 3 guitar players and they like headbanged.
In
sequence.
Yeah, dude, those are. And I was like, these guys are gonna party so hard, and they're like, we're all tuckered out. We're gonna take a little nap.
They were playing the
like,
first. They were playing the first Dirt Fest in Michigan. The day after that, they were from Idaho.
Yeah, that's what they, because they were summer.
They were a band from Lima that I had booked, and they were like, "Hey, can we throw an extra band on?" And I'm like, "Well, it was one of those. That was one of those fifth quarter shows
after the football game, right?"
Yeah, I did a thing. I did a thing in the football season of 2007, 2006.
Yeah,
where every home football game there was 2 bands that played after the football game ended, hoping to like kind of draw some kids over from the crowd. But I got a lot of flack from the school about that. Like, you can't come in and promote that. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'm like, why not? I'm just trying to give the kids something to do. You know?
Hey, didn't we get the announcer to announce it one time?
I don't know. You might have, Bowen probably did.
Yeah.
Bowen probably did.
Local golden boy.
Yeah, because they looked at me like I'm some kind of a-hole trying to like
Molest their children.
probably. I don't know. Like that's the thing I say about all ages is double-edged sword, because you know in your heart that you're trying to do the right thing,
Right.
but you're a punk. You know, you're a punk rock kid, and these parents look at you like, what's he trying to do to my kids? And I got kids, and I'd probably be like, what's he trying to do to my kids? But like I'd always tell people, if you want to come, bring your kids, you're free. You know, pay for the kids, you're free. If you just stand around in the corner, make sure nothing bad happens. I don't care. I don't care. Like, I appreciate you being here. It makes me seem more legitimate, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah. They show up and they're like, we got 3 guitar players and we got this tiny little trailer. I'm like, all right, you guys got to be serious. All right, 15 minutes. Okay. So they played. And I always what I tried to do on the majority of them, the first one I did that with Island View Drive and Shakespeare.
Oh, I remember those guys. Those guys could party too.
Yeah, those guys were sweet.
That's the guy that gave me Claritin that one time.
Alec Tower.
Is that his?
That was his name.
Yeah.
You called him Anakin.
Oh, I sound like a cool guy.
Because his brother's name was Luke.
Oh shit.
Luke Tower. And then Brandon and Noda. You probably don't remember him because he spent all night on the phone with his girlfriend. One of them guys.
He didn't party.
He couldn't party.
Yeah, then fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Sounds like it would have been me.
But we had a bunch of cool shows. And then I guess I kind of jumped a pivotal part there. One of the shows I did at the YMCA, when I first started doing this, I didn't know how serious I was going to get about it, and I would borrow a bunch of PA gear, rent, whatever I could get, and I blew up some people's shit, and I felt really bad about it, and so I paid for it. I mean, paid for the repairs, paid them. Sorry, but that's when I maxed out 2 credit cards and spent like fucking $8,000 on PA gear. Then at that point, like it was on like Donkey Kong. I was like, I gotta make this shit worthwhile.
Yeah, you're invested at this point, right?
Yeah.
Clearly.
So I kind of went balls deep, and I committed myself to at least 1 show a month. And there was another guy in Defiance that was him and his wife were doing shows at the Skylark. And like I had done 1 show at the Skylark, and it wasn't the people that I wanted to associate with. There was a lady that was running it, and she was for somebody that ran an organization or like a room that's supposed to like be for kids, she really wasn't that into like doing stuff for kids.
Right.
Somehow the other people had a better relationship with her, but she was all up. She was all like all kinds of stringent rules and just wouldn't flex. And so I was like, I did 1 show there with the Swellers and some garage band and another band from Michigan. I remember they were from they're from Downriver, which is like suburban Detroit. I don't remember their name though. But that show was bad. If you were there, thanks for coming. But I didn't have fun with it.
Bad as in attendance, bad as in like
bad as in
environment,
the environment,
the
the atmosphere. Like there were a bunch of kids there. There were a bunch of good bands. Everybody had a good time. But I just had that lady, like, we're paying you. I'm sorry. Like,
Did she have to sit everybody down and then explain the rules to them?
I think there might have been one of those.
Yeah, I had to do that one time too.
And then I don't know.
Glad I never met this lady.
I don't know. B&E did shows there, and they had a whole that lady just stayed in the snack booth, sold snacks, but she was all up in my business, and so that's when I developed my relationship with Rich Seward at the YMCA, and they had advertised this thing that they were supposed to be doing a rock night once a month. I was like, I could do that for you. I was like, if you want to do this, I could do that for you. Like, you advertise this, I will guarantee you a show every month. And he tried to feel me out on the first one and was like, well, we're going to take the money. And I'm like, why? I did all the work. These guys are doing all the work. well, it costs so much to rent this place. And I'm like, but otherwise it would just sit still, right? Is it your goal to, as the YMCA? And we had a discussion. We saw eye to eye. He ended up making a really good deal with me. I don't think after that point I ever paid a dime to use the YMCA. That was a completely donated facility because I was like, you guys can sell these snacks, and like this is something that you offer. Like if people come in and be like, I'm a Y member, do I get in for free? I'm fine with that.
Right.
Because that's something that they offered as part of their like membership package. So I did a bunch of shows at the YMCA, and that was we started off in the gym, and then we realized that we're never going to get enough kids in here to fill this gym. So we started doing them in the youth center. And when we started doing them in the youth center, they started sounding better because the
snare crack, crack.
There wasn't as much feedback. Gyms are cool to do shows in because there's nothing you can break. You can fit a lot of people, all kinds of cool stuff, but they just sound like you're playing in a gym.
I remember, wasn't it Shakespeare, Swellers, and Dash the Assassin in the gym?
Yeah.
Yep.
Was Benson there that night?
Benson
was not there that night.
Benson was there. That was the Benson
was
show.
not there. Was that Benson that night? I don't remember Benson playing, but I remember partying with Benson.
Yeah, that was one of the, that was the
top 10 best nights of my life.
That was the second. That was the last. Well, other than the fifth quarter ones, that was the last gym. That was the last big gym show, because after that we just moved into the youth center. Mm-hmm. That was supposed to be Dash the Assassin. We were supposed to play at the Summit, that church. And then last minute, they were like, wanted it to all be Christian bands. And Dash the Assassin was like, you realize we're not a Christian band, right? They're like, well, you're Christians. Well, can't they be Christians and not be in a Christian band? Well, but we know you. And so we had to find a new place. And we went to the YMCA, and they were cool about it. Very last minute. Very last minute. But yeah, that was
I remember going to that, but I remember seeing the Swellers, but that's all I remember. I think I might have hung out during the whole damn show, outside.
One of the cool things about the gym show was that when we did gym shows, we could get people in there that really weren't into the music, but they could play Xbox. They could play Xbox and pool and foosball and watch TV in the youth center, because the youth center at Defiance, I don't know, I haven't been there in a decade or so.
Still is.
Is it still really nice?
Yeah. I mean I'm there fucking 8 times a fucking week, so because of kids, sports, and shit.
8 days a week.
Yeah. So, but
did 2013 play for you?
You guys played a show there, but it was not.
Who the hell did I play that show for?
I don't know. I remember getting a call from Rich. Hey, we're doing a show, and we don't have a sound guy. Can you do this? And I'm like, I guess. Who's playing it? And was, I don't know who any of these people are. Some kid wants to do this show. And it was like after I'd quit doing it. And then I was like, hey, I know you guys. Bush.
There ain't no bush in this room. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, God, that's cold.
Just when it hits your lips, it just tastes so good.
Fill it up again. Fill it up again.
But going on, were we at the end? No, you got
that. We're talking about. I bought a PA and I went balls deep.
Right.
I was doing basically. I did live sound. I bought my first PA. It would have been like July of 2006 probably, and then I did live sound and DJing up until. I think the last one that I did was October of 2013 because my son was born in August of 2013. And when Susan was pregnant with him, I kind of was like, I'm done because I want to spend time with my son. And then somebody was like, hey, didn't you say you were going to do this? And I'm like, I guess.
I'm trying to remember around when I met you, because I remember I was doing shows and whatnot. And
November 13th. No,
Jesus, I was like, if you know this, you're amazing.
No. See, like everybody people like to talk about my memory, and the way that it works is I'm detail oriented. I'm very detail oriented, and I can remember details, and I can kind of walk it back from that. And I want to say that the first time that we ever met was a par 4 Friday.
Jesus.
That's the mall, people.
There was a food stand in the mall called
I had to have been there with Alex.
Par 4, and I would go there, and it was Matt, and usually Matt's mom. And Alex and his girlfriend at the time, Carl. And then I think you showed up one time. I remember the conversation. You were working at DCTV, and Matt was like, hey, I want to start doing drum videos. And I want to be able to do like a picture-in-picture where you can see my feet at all time. And you're like, yeah, we could totally do that. I remember that, and I want to say that would have had to been 2000. I think I was living out of my car at that point. I know I moved to Defiance in 2003, and I lived with Mike, and Jennifer and Travis for like a few months, and then I hung about for a long time, but I just kind of slept wherever I could and slept out of my car. Very nomadic. I met Alex. I can tell you, I remember meeting Alex. He showed up at the house, and I don't remember if it was him and Clarissa or just him. Got their nipples pierced by Mike. And neither one of them were 18.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
Well, I know I didn't become good friends with you until after I started dating your ex.
Yeah, I don't even think you could call us good friends.
I don't think so. I don't even know if we were working together at that point.
I remember you were like, you started doing Paulding in the gym, and I was like, you really can't find a better place to put on a show. You're like, I like the history of the building, and I'm like, yeah, but it sounds like fucking garbage.
Yep.
I remember the first time I worked with you. The first time I remember you outside of the park shows, and then that kid Tim tried to do that Halloween show.
That's how he got me.
And you jumped in on that last minute, and there's a really funny story about that because I was pretty well known. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I was pretty well known. And Shakespeare was playing that show. We showed up in Paulding, and we were eating at the Dairy Queen. And then Bowen gets this phone call from you. Hey, I know you guys weren't slotted to play till like 9, and it's 6:30, but the next 3 bands canceled on us. So the sooner you could get here, the better. And we're like, all right. So we finished our food. We got in the cars. We headed down the street, and we pull up outside, and we just start unloading gear because we're going to rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was carrying Bowen's 810 cabinet, which is now my 810 cabinet, but it was Bowen's at the time. And I'm walking it up the stairs, and this guy's like, covers $3. Cool. Continue walking this big fucking refrigerator up the stairs. Walk back through. Covers $3. Yeah, I'll get you, man. Go and carry something else in. Covers $3. I'll get around to it. And then the next thing I know, I'm trying to mic you guys up. Or I'm trying to mic, like, you're in the band. I was trying to mic Shakespeare up. And I'm talking to Jared, who I knew, and he was the guy doing the sound. And they're trying to use, like, the shittiest of Radio Shack mics for all these other bands. Then when Split Second plays, they got this whole other set of microphones. And I'm like, hey, bud, let's use these. Well, I don't want anything. I was like, dude, if anything happens to them, I will replace them. So we ended up micing them up with good mics. But I'm sitting there pulling their Radio Shack mics off and putting these SM58s up. 2 dudes in Halloween costumes are posted up behind me, arms crossed. One of them was Jared's little brother. I don't remember who the other one was. Paul. He was Paulding as fuck. Kind of looked like Kyle.
God damn.
But they're both wearing Halloween costumes. And like, covers $3. I told you guys I will pay. What would you rather have? Me pay you $3 or a band playing so people don't walk out of here? Covers $3. So out of spite, I paid them in change. $3 in change and loose change. Then when you guys got paid, when Shakespeare got paid out at the end of the night, you got $3 and change. So I did it to spite them, and then they spited Bowen back, I guess. But yeah, it was that was you were like Tim had started doing that show, and you kind of jumped onto it, and then you did you started doing Paulding again.
Real quick, Tim, wheelchair?
Yes.
Okay.
Matthews.
Matthews.
Tim Matthews.
Yeah.
I still see him to this day, but I don't know why it was so hard to remember his last name.
He really didn't like you because you broke his ramp that one time at the park show.
Huh?
He brought this ramp.
How did I break a ramp?
You like walked up it, but you ran up it. You didn't know that it was like not structurally sound. And you like ran up it and like cracked it even more than it was already cracked. And he's like, the drummer from the Culprits broke my ramp.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
He's a nice guy.
No, he's not.
Okay.
What? You got something against people from Broughton now?
No, I got something against people in wheelchairs.
Oh.
Screw that tile making town. Yeah. So we kind of like jumped. We had a working relationship, and then you I don't know, you guys started doing the Defiance music thing.
Right. I wanted to be a little bit more structured. That's where Lindsay came in. Josh came in. Josh originally was supposed to be our PA guy, but then he was getting a little Josh-like, and I needed somebody a little bit more stable, which was you.
I remember there was one of the first Defiance music shows you guys did at the Skylark after that previous lady had kind of stepped aside. And what was the guy's name?
That would be
His brother was in Flat Tire after you were.
Bill Spencer.
Billy boy. But yeah, he was a cool dude.
I love Bill.
Bill was a cool dude. But anyway, Lindsay calls me one day. For the love of God, can you come down here? Bring whatever you think you need, just for the love of God. And I showed up and saved the day, I guess. Here we come to save the day. But yeah, for a while I was completely content with like not doing it and just kind of just like taking a break. Then I started working with you guys, and then Josh Storer bought a bunch of way bigger shit than I had, and then he kind of took over, and I'm like, straight dude. Tag, you're it. Have fun.
I know some of those.
He had way better resources than I did because he had like that family money and trucks and trailers, and I loaded everything into a fucking Honda Civic
Like a fucking
like
plane,
a fucking clown car, man.
playing Tetris.
Shit, dude. I remember driving back from Paulding and just like literally not being able to see shit because I had it packed, like trunk packed, back seat packed, passenger seat packed. Like I couldn't, like I had the side mirror on my side. That's all I could see out the back with, because no rear view, passenger mirror blocked. And I'm like, if I got to back out of anywhere, somebody tell me if I'm going to fucking hit something. But yeah, just loaded it all up. Fucking speakers, racks, microphones, stands, cables.
Yeah, you were a godsend. Like, I learned back in my DC TV days that you make sure you take care of your sound guys, which I don't think really happened at first. And you were kind of perturbed, and I was like, he's right. So after a while, I started cutting the sound guys in, same as the bands.
My thought process on it was, if I'm booking a show and I have guarantees that if I don't get paid, it was my fault because I didn't get enough asses in the seats. But if I'm working for somebody else and you're like, whatever you're paying the best paid band, I want to get the same amount of money.
Right.
Because I'm working the whole night and I'm working after they're done. I'm working before the show even starts. I'm putting in more man hours. I've got just as much money wrapped up in gear as most of these other cats. And I ought to get compensated equally. Like if you've got a good, like a big name band coming through and they want a big guarantee, I don't expect that much. But whatever you're paying the highest paid local, that's what I should get to.
Right.
And there were a lot of guys that were like, well, the bands bring in the people. And I'm like, well, if they're playing, if nobody can hear them, then they're not going to come back. And that was one of the main reasons why I was so willing to work with people like B&E and you for less money than I felt like I deserved, because I was trying to help build a scene, and it was counterintuitive or counterindicative of me to not help you, because bad gas travels fast in a small town, right?
Mhm.
And so kids go to a Skylark show and they're like, "Oh, the bands were there, but you couldn't hear anything." Well, then when I'm at the mall and I hand them a flyer and I'm like, "Hey, there's bands playing at the Y." Well, I went to this show at the Sky. I heard it all the time. I went to this show at the Skylark and you couldn't hear anything, and the bands were just bad. And I'm like, "Well, that's not me, and I'm sorry. Why don't you come to my show and I'll try to help you out. I'll try to give you a better experience." And so I was like, well, maybe instead of apologizing to 20 kids a day for the experience that they had, maybe I can try to improve that experience.
Right.
So I was doing, usually, because me and Ben would each try to do a show a month. So every other weekend I was doing a show. And then you came in, and then it was like 3 shows a month, and I had a girlfriend that really didn't like that. But hey, whatever. We're not together anymore.
No.
But yeah, like busy times. And then the Defiance music, like you started it, and then some other cat kind of took it over, and he was doing shows, and that's kind of when we evolved. At that point, it seemed like everybody was 21.
Yep.
And so it kind of evolved from all ages. I remember one time, one of the last Skylark shows, we were doing an all ages, and it's like, man, everybody in here is just fucking going to Miami area. Like everybody's going to Miami area in between bands.
Yeah, because everybody was taking shifts going over there.
So it's like, why don't we just do bars? And Defiance Music, for some reason, did Hamler, Area 51, a lot. And that was a cool joint because it's like the Wild West. The lady that ran that place didn't give 2 fucks. We could do whatever we wanted. And then
Apparently she's still the same way.
God love Penny and her gizzards.
Oh my god.
Great gizzards at that place.
I want some gizzards right now.
Let's go to Hamler. Whatevs. But yeah, bar, like that whole time in the, like, basically what was it? It was about 2009. 2009 to 2013, the majority of the stuff we did was in bars. And I remember I did a lot of work at Spanky's. Those were some great shows. Great shows at Spanky's. I remember the first Spanky's show that I did. Spanky's had not done a show probably since like the Trunk Muscle days or whatever. No, I remember the first time I was ever at Spanky's for a band. Boff played there with
Blue Tantrum?
Yeah, Blue Tantrum, and then Brian Sapizio he was living in Chicago. He's a Defiance kid, but he was living in Chicago, and he was in a band, and they were kind of doing a tour thing, and his dad kind of was like, "Ooh, set something up at Spanky's," and they shared the night with Nate. But that was kind of like a one-off thing. Like nobody had ever really like that, and it wasn't really advertised. It was just kind of a thing. And then one afternoon, I'm sitting there hanging out with my girlfriend, and I get a call from Mike Saxton. I think I'd met Mike once or twice before that, but he's like, "Hey, we're trying to set up a Black Order show at Spanky's, and we're looking for a sound guy. Your name keeps popping up. What do you charge?" And I'm like, "Well, I am really cool with doing door deals." And he's like, "What's that?" Because like these guys had never booked shows before.
Right.
I'm like, "Well, basically, whatever you guys make at the door and you start splitting up, whoever you pay the most, I won't pay that. So if you guys make $150, I want to make $150."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Oh, I think we could do that because we don't know. Nobody's done this in a long time. We don't know how it's going to turn out." And it was packed. It was packed house. And then I asked Spanky about it. I was like, "So when's the next time you're going to do bands?" He's like, "Never." I'm like, "Why not?" And he goes, "The next week, Monday, I got like 17 calls from people in bands. 'Hey, can I play at your bar?'" he's like, I'm not going to set up shows and do all this. And then so Ian started working for the family business, and he started setting up shows. I was his like go-to guy, I guess. And then when I quit doing it, he brought in some other dudes. When I quit doing it, like shows went, there was a lot more, like they quit showing up as often. Like he was doing shows like every third week, pretty much. He was doing a show because he always, he had a sound guy. And then when he didn't, he was like, Then he bought his own shit. I don't know. I guess they still do it not to
Here
a
and
regular.
there.
They do
Right,
maybe
right.
like a quarterly kind of thing now, like every 2 months or so, 2 or 3 months. But yeah, the Defiance music scene, I was never in Defiance when like Trunk Muscle and like Grace Engine and then the bar scene that was around at first. So I can't speak to that. I just know about the all ages and into like the bar sets that I did. But
And
it's been going on it was going on and it was pretty heavy and there was a lot of people going out to bars.
I just don't see anybody doing any more all ages shows from here on out. Like I don't see very many young people doing the music and whatnot. And I'm 35. I'm to that age where I'm probably too old to be speaking about that shit. But I just didn't see anybody in the next generation step up to replace us.
That was one of the things that I always said is like, I need kids. I need some like, and that was one of the problems was that when we first started doing all ages, there were kids in bands, and I haven't seen ever since like the Chris Oberhaus generation, #fuck Chris Oberhaus. I have not seen kids in bands.
I'm not either. There's been like one or two, and then they went on to do like the cover band bar thing real quick. But I haven't seen anything real original.
I mean, yeah, that class of 2007.
Yeah,
I think that's when they graduated. Like you had like Nick Flory, Stagaman, Oberhaus,
right.
Shit, there was a bunch. There's other kids. Like, was it Clint? Something
Yeah.
or another?
Sandy's.
Yeah, like there was a bunch of kids, and they were all playing music. And I think that's right around the same age as like the Death Rats guys.
Yeah.
Aren't they all that
Yep,
same age?
I would say so.
And then you had like
You got some anomalies here and there, which is Child, Tyler,
yeah.
Cody Harris. Like those are the younger ones, but I haven't really seen anybody since then.
And one guy don't make a band.
Right.
Yeah, we had the Napoleon kids,
Oh, I forgot about the Napoleon kids. Alex Hastet and
Hastet
all those
and-
people. Yeah.
the doctors and priests.
If I had to pick somebody right now who could probably do an all ages show, they're at the right age to do it. I think Luke Schooley could probably pull it off.
I think he's too old.
You think?
No, I think he could.
I think
Schooly.
if anity, yeah.
God, man, I just remember.
Call to arms, Schooley, do it.
Schooly. Remember all those times I used to skank with you? To your dad's band. I've seen a couple videos of him.
He's got
online.
a couple podcasts now, and I haven't checked them out yet.
Aren't
which
they
is
only
on me.
on Apple?
Are they?
I think they're only on Apple.
Maybe that's why I haven't checked them
listened to
out.
them. Change that shit, Schooly.
Do it.
Schooly.
Do it.
But yeah, dude.
Support everybody. That's what we're doing right now.
I remember like Luke as a 6 or 7 year old. Like that kid was just at all the shows, just like totally enamored with his dad. Like my dad's the coolest guy ever. I think like there's something to be said for the all ages show culture because it really builds good people. Like there's no rule book, but we all know them. You know, like somebody falls, you pick them up. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. Just generally don't be a dick. Like,
Yeah,
and
it's the camaraderie that
we
people
don't
go for.
have that anymore. Like everybody's gets offended by shit. Fuck. If those people hung out with us back then, they wouldn't be around anymore. We're all about offending people.
Well,
Wheelchairs and etc.
let's move on to something else here because you are the tome. Why don't you give us a story about Kyle?
Dude, Kyle.
Shit.
Kyle, this guy's got huge balls. Just flapping in the breeze. No. Kyle used to be a godsend because Kyle did not drink. And Kyle still doesn't drink a whole lot. He's just kind of like but I'll have a beer that's made by like people that want too much money for beer. Like he's a microbrew kind of guy and just likes to. I'm gonna drink some fancy beer and watch some hockey. But Kyle used to come over to the Deuce after like long nights of drinking. And
you almost said APT.
I almost said
That
APT.
made me laugh.
He used to come because the APT. We did a lot of drinking at the APT.
Yeah.
The APT.
That was on Douglas Street.
That's where Jake lived before he lived with me.
So
The apartment?
My bedroom was
A couch.
essentially a couch, unless there was a lot of people. Then I slept in the closet.
Yeah, he had a closet. That was his closet. He had a closet. That's where he could keep his stuff.
Usually a clothes basket full of clothes that weren't washed.
The APT, they had it was a 2-bedroom apartment. There's like 6 of those buildings, and I think they're all owned by different people. 8?
No, there are 8 buildings. It's owned by the people that own Carpet Mart.
Are they? No, I thought.
Gary Heater.
Yeah, it's the Degler Street Apartments. And at one time when it was built, like the property was owned by Fat Mike, not of NoFX's grandpa, William Degler.
Yeah.
And
So, anyways,
but
Kyle.
yeah, Kyle used to come over, and he
Used
would
to roll up in the old shit
in the shit-tation, and he would drive us to Tom's Donuts in my car, the 2002 Honda Civic 5-speed. And the way we would roll it, he was usually rolling deep with Tall Tim.
Yeah.
So it would be like me, Fat Mike, Jake, Bowen, maybe somebody else.
Will Schultz.
Sometimes Will, sometimes DMD. But we would fit as many people in this Honda Civic as possible. And it was always Kyle drove, and then I sat in the center. And
the front.
And
Was that a bench or 2 buckets?
No, it was 2 buckets. I sat on the center console.
Okay.
And Fat Mike would sit in the passenger seat. And Kyle would work the pedals and the steering wheel, and I would shift the gears. And he would just be like, 2, 3. I think one time we literally did have 5 people in the back seat. I think
Well, I was going to say, I know we rolled at least 7, if not
4
8.
Four of
Clowns in a
them.
fucking car.
Yeah, 4 of them on the seat, and then like one of them like curled up fetal position on top of their laps. But yeah, we would roll into Tom's Donuts just fucking drunk as shit and eat 3 egg specials and double bacon cheese.
I miss Tom's.
Well, I get the call. Hey, man, we want to go to Tom's.
All
I'm
right.
in bed.
All right, on my way. Yeah, me and Fat Mike, not of NoFX, ate at the Rumor Mill on Friday morning. We had breakfast, and Fat Mike, in typical Fat Mike fashion, ordered the biggest breakfast, the big Rumor. And as he's eating it, he's like, "I can't wait to get home and fucking throw this shit up." I'm like, "Why did you order so much?" He's like, "Why the fuck not? Whatever."
Is it as good as it used to be?
Well, Tom's Donuts had like a fucking rotating cast of people, and it always depended on who was working. Like, I know I was supposed to tell a story about Kyle, but I'm gonna go into the history of Tom's Donuts. Is that okay with you, Kyle?
I don't give a shit.
Okay.
All right.
So the first time, Fat Mike and I are the original Tom's kids. The first time we ever ate at Tom's Donuts, I was living with Mike, and I got home from work. It was like 3 a.m. I was starving. Nothing was open. No, and I was like, "Oh, we didn't have any food. I didn't want to go to Kroger." And he's like, "Let's walk down to this donut place. They're open 24 hours a day." I'm like, "Donuts?" He's like, "They do. I think they do everything." Like, he got donuts there before. We never really went in. We went in, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was the bar crowd, and it was like fucking chaos. People were throwing shit and loud, and I was like, "Fucking anarchy, man, anarchy!" And we were hooked. We got double a bacon cheese, and fucking drank a pot of coffee. Home fries, because they didn't have a fryer at that point. We just had home fries. And it kind of became like a weekly thing. Like, "Hey, let's go to Tom's." All right. So, like, I remember one time, like, I came home from work, and I was like, "Dude, you want to go to Tom's?" Yeah, let me put on some clothes. So, like, I would wake him up, and we would go to Tom's. And
What the fuck?
I accidentally hit Siri.
Siri, what about Tom's? But anyway, the downfall of the Tom's Donuts, like it being me and Mike's little special places, Jordan Crutch. What a bastard. Jordan Crutch came home. He was at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, and he came home for a weekend, and we took him to Tom's Donuts. and he kind of saw in it the same thing that we all saw, like the fucking just a place to be you. Nobody gave a shit what you wore, who you were. Everybody was just there, have a good time. And so we took him to Tom's Donuts, and he went home and he wrote that fucking song. And then he went back to Pittsburgh and he worked on it. And then when he moved back and he started this whole Some Garage Band thing up again. That was one of the songs. Then the Punksgiving show, they ended the night and they ended the set with Tom's Donuts. It was a song written on an acoustic guitar. And so Jordan, when they played it live, would always play it on a clean channel electric, just like one time through. And then they would go into it with a full band and just heavy. And then usually a third time, just fucking fast as fuck. And so they played that song, and he started it. He goes, "This is a place that we all hang out. We're probably going to be there at the end of the night." And so these kids listened to this song, and then they reacted to this song, and then they just fucking like went crazy to this song. And then we cleaned up everything, and the end of the night, we pulled into Tom's Donuts, and there wasn't a car in the parking lot, but there wasn't a seat left in the house. All these fucking 15-year-old kids walked from the college across the river to Tom's Donuts, and they were all sitting there. And the lady was like, "Why didn't you warn us? We're not prepared for this." And then it turned into a Friday night thing. Basically, when they would kick kids out of the mall, they would go to Tom's Donuts. And it got to the point where you couldn't, like, between 9 and 11, you couldn't even sit down at Tom's Donuts. It was like standing room only.
From what I understand, like the waitresses and people, they appreciated it, but the owner never really appreciated those kids.
Mike was a dick.
Yeah.
And probably
Trying to get another beer.
go for it. Yeah, it was mismanaged, I would say, a lot of the times from the grapevine.
I will confirm that.
Because like they could have rode that sudden success, but he refused to.
Like there was a bunch of signs about don't be running in, like, I don't run a child care, like, but these motherfuckers paying you money, like,
and I guarantee you that kept him alive for a couple more years.
Yeah, I'm not making any money off of kids just coming in drinking 1 cup of coffee, but you let 70-year-old dudes do that all day long. Like, what's the difference? Like these kids are buying a $1.19 cup of coffee and tipping the waitress $2, whereas this old dude's buying a $1.19 cup of coffee and tipping the waitress 50 cents.
Right. And I know the rumor mill doesn't have the 24/7 hours like Tom's did.
They open really early, but then they don't. They don't even open for dinner.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Like 5.
They close with the rest of the Defiance.
Well, that's because it's just Christy.
Okay.
And she's got to have time to fucking do life, you know?
Right.
I think it would be cool if she was open 24 hours a day.
Which I get it, but I mean, at least give us some dinner hours.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Till 8 at least.
It's
Right.
more of a
8, 9.
it's more of a breakfast lunch kind of menu anyway. Like there's no like dinner.
Well, this is pretty much the exact reason why I've never been there. Is I just timed out. But I hope to go there someday. I want to see if it matches up to the original Tom's. If it's got the same.
Oh, dude. Well, they don't have like the staples are the 3-egg special, which you got 3 eggs, home fries, bacon, sausage, toast, and a coffee. And like at first it was like $5, and then it was like $6, and it was like $7. I think toward the end it was like $10, but it was still, that was the bang for your buck. And then the double bacon cheese, but usually if it was made by B,
It was made with love.
there were some other like notables. Carol was a sweetheart, and then her daughter Gina. Christy, who owns it now, she was a good one. Georgia was cray.
Ugh.
And then there was that redhead that hated me. I don't remember her name. She just, "You don't like me," and I'm like, "I didn't have a problem with you till now," but she insisted that I didn't like her, which made me not like her.
Happens that way.
Yeah. Then Jabba Cakes worked there
Did she?
Yeah, she was
have to
toward
have
the
it.
end.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Nastachio Stasha.
Yeah.
Stasha Grimes. She worked there like during the nights. But it was there was always like it was good folks, good people. And then every once in a while we get in fights with people, but whatever.
Well, getting up here to the winding down of everything. You got any other good stories before we take off? Anything that real good
I actually had a list.
Oh, you have a list?
In case we ran out of topics. I jotted some notes down when I was supposed to be working.
Yeah, that's what I do. Well, what you got? What are we? What are these the corrections or what are these?
Well, it was okay.
Oh God, he has a list.
Stealing from Jake. I did. I know in the one we were talking about reroll, you did say that. I think you said it was started in 2007. It was the fall of 2006.
So almost 2007.
Yeah, you were close. And I did bring a present for you.
Is it the dice?
Oh shit!
I was gonna hold on to the one set, but I was gonna give you the other set.
Oh shit!
Reroll dice.
The Bret Hart's
Yeah,
pink and black attack.
that's right. Oh my god! Just caught up Buzz, just fucking holding on to these dice.
Woo! Yeah, I didn't kick you out, Doctor Death Rats and the Clergy Connection. Nobody has a story about Adam before 2008.
It's true.
Blackouts. Covered blackouts. Yep. Talked about Kyle. Talked about the name. Yeah, I think I pretty much covered everything that I was talking about covering. I did say anything in here about DJing, but fuck that. Whatever.
It's a young man's game.
Yeah, I did DJ like a bunch of weddings and stuff like that. Like
You're still doing it somewhat.
Well, I did one for. I'll do one for family or friends. Essentially, I was a DJ. Like the whole time I was doing live sound, I was a DJ because in between bands you have to play music, kind of keep people occupied, and you kind of have to be able to feel a crowd and play something that's going to keep the momentum up and not like kind of kill it. And then at the end of the night, you need to be able to kill it without intentionally letting everybody know you're killing it, so they go home happy. And
I remember you had that first second generation iPad or iPod when you were doing that.
motherfucker got stolen out of my car during a gig.
Bullshit.
Yeah, Halloween parade night. I must have forgot to lock my doors, and I came back to my car and it was turned over, like everything was pulled out, and I was like, oh cool, because I didn't keep anything in my car. As I like contaminated the crime scene, like loaded everything in, and I got home, I'm like, fuck, I had my iPods in there, and they were gone.
Bah.
'Cause I did iPods for a while, and then I bought a laptop because it made it a lot easier. I could make playlists instead of having to make a playlist. And then I went in, like when I did DJing, I had like a pretty extensive record collection, and I've never been one to do things the same way that everybody else does it. Like there were some other guys DJing at that time, and they were always like some of them were doing videos, and some of them were doing like everybody was basically like what'd you call yourself when you DJ push play?
Yeah, DJ push button.
DJ push button.
Because I didn't do shit. Tell me what to play.
Yeah.
DJ push button.
DJ make a playlist. And so I would bring crates of records, and like people would be like, you playing records back there? What you got? Go ahead, thumb through them, man. Pick one out and play it. And yeah, I did a wedding here in the fall, or the end of summer. It is the fall. You guys want to talk about reroll, or do you want to?
We don't got time for reroll.
We ain't got no time for reroll.
Ain't nobody got time for reroll.
One thing that I loved about
We got to bring Bowen on and talk about that.
the beach at the Deuce when you guys recorded my outgoing voicemail message.
Oh Jesus!
People company.
Everybody was so fucking drunk.
Who all was on it?
It was me and Bowen and his cousin Will, and then everybody was like, "Oh, Jake's." No, Jake wasn't. We did a lot of voicemails, singing voicemails, where me and Bowen would do harmonies and Jake would talk over it and talk shit to people. We did a couple of those. You were really drunk.
I don't remember nothing.
But yeah, no, I don't know. That was something that Will and Bowen were always singing, and then People became like a we would talk about getting people. We were talking about pizza,
Mhm.
and I don't know, something they had to sing for choir in high school, and I just kind of jumped in it one day because they did a good 2-part, and I was like, well, three's company, whatever. Jumped on in the third. And Kyle, do you still have that?
No, when Altel got bought out by
bunch of
Verizon.
bitches.
Oh yeah, it pissed me off.
Maybe if we
I
would've-
remember calling Kyle, and I have to sit through that entire goddamn
Oh yeah, it was long.
voicemail.
People more, people more, and like we would do. People.
Yeah, you guys went normal,
And then we
low,
would just
high.
get high, like get louder, and to the end we were like people company, like loud, and
it
then
was
at
just
the
me,
end it'd be
leave a
like
message.
company,
Leave a message.
Terrible. Fucking terrible.
Doesn't help you now, but if you would have pressed 1, you could have skipped all of it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hate you. Hate you so much.
Technology.
Well, guys, thank you, Murph, for coming on. You've been a wonderful friend for so long.
I really wanted to talk about wrestling, but
It's not a wrestling
motherfucking
podcast.
war games last night. Shit, son.
We'll go watch it. We gotta do something because we got so much time between now
Survivor
and Survivor
Series.
Series.
Fucking A. Dude, it is a great time to be a wrestling fan. Not a wrestling podcast, but it is a great time to be a wrestling fan. I watched so much fucking wrestling yesterday. Like, I've been working a shit ton, so it's like I can't get to it when it's on. But what did I watched Friday night, then I watched NXT, then I watched War Games, then I watched AEW, then I watched Ring of Honor.
I'm not watching Ring of Honor. Not
Dude,
fucking
Ring
doing
of
it.
Honor wasn't worth it.
No.
I fell
Actually,
asleep watching
follow
Ring of
Joey
Honor.
Mercury on Twitter right now. Dude is just blowing up the place with all this shit. It's funny as hell.
I don't tweet anymore.
I don't tweet either, but
Ever since CM Punk. CM Punk fucking back on whatever that show is.
Backstage
Backstage with WWE talking shit about Seth Rollins. Fuck yeah.
I haven't even watched it yet.
Oh, dude.
Where can I find it?
I think
FS1.
it's on demand now.
Is it on
I
demand?
think it's
I'll
on
have to
demand.
see.
Fox Sports 1.
I watched the clips on YouTube because I didn't like. I don't know. Fucking get with that shit, man. Why the fuck is cable being gay about like I couldn't for some reason SmackDown wasn't on fucking Hulu yesterday,
Uh-huh.
Don't know.
and then so I had to fucking watch it on Spectrum with goddamn commercials,
Fuck you, cable boy.
and then fucking FS1. I went to the FS1 thing on the on demand and couldn't find it because I kind of unhooked my DVR. I was thinking about getting rid of it because I thought I could just watch this shit next day anyway, and then it's being gay.
Well,
It was good last week, and then it's fucking shit this week. I don't know.
You know what we also forgot to talk about? Parking lot patrol.
Parking lot patrol.
Parking lot patrol.
Parking lot patrol.
We would go to Walmart.
You gonna do
late
that
at
with a
night.
brand new car? Fuck yeah, I am.
He'd grab carts.
I
and
used
just
to
run
grab.
around.
I used to grab carts. I had a fucking literally. I bought this car with like less than 5,000 miles on it, and I used to drive up to park like random shopping carts in the parking lot at Walmart or whatever when it was like really late at night, and I would fucking grab onto them, and then I would drive up to the corral and just fucking rocket them in there, and the whole time I'd scream parking lot patrol, parking lot patrol.
God, it was so funny. So fucking funny.
He's like, the first time I did it, he was like, "You're gonna do that with a brand new car? What if you scratch it?" Ah, fuck it. Can't take it with you.
That and the midnight cookouts.
Yeah, build the memories,
God
right?
damn.
Build the memories.
All right, guys. Well, kind of winding up here. A couple things we wanted to go over. Thank you, Murph, for coming. Thank you for all the memories. Thank you for telling us where we were right and wrong.
Are you guys gonna cut in commercials?
I haven't decided. Why? You got a commercial?
No.
Why?
No, I just fucking love 15% off your penis.
You know, sometimes life is hard, and sometimes you gotta get hard back.
With shipadick.com.
They say revenge is a dish served best cold, but I like to serve it direct to their door.
With shipadick.com.
Shipadick.com offers a wide variety of dicks that I can anonymously send to anyone of my choosing. And when I put it in my cart, I use code
12FU.
to save 15% off my dick.
I haven't seen 15% off my dick since the day I was born.
So, go to shipadick.com right now to save.
Hey, you effers! You want some sweet-ass merch that makes your dick hard? Hard as shit! Go to stupidbradmerch.com where you can buy shirts, pins, patches, records, and koozies! Keep my claws cold! So go to stupidbradmerch.com, type in the code 12FU for free shipping! That's right, free shipping when using the code 12FU. Save your mom some money! Yes! I love my money.
I don't know how the hell we missed it on previous podcasts, but I do want to take a second to say congratulations to Alex Ball and Katie Pewarski on their engagement. Alex has been on the show multiple times, and they are friends of the podcast. So congratulations, guys. We'll see you.
Never thought that shit would happen. Like, Alex had such a stance about like not getting married, and then I'm like, what?
Yeah, I you know what? Good for them. It's awesome. And then heading out here, guys, I want to make sure that you subscribe and check out all of our podcasts and stuff. Subscribe where you guys ever get your podcasts. So Apple, iTunes.
I tend to listen on Spotify.
You listen on Spotify.
Podbean.
Podbean, whatnot.
I used to do the Podbean. I like Spotify better.
So go there, subscribe, leave a review. You know, if we suck, leave us a 1-star. If you like us, 5 stars are always good, whatever, man. Then when you get onto the social media platforms, kids, please go to Instagram, use @12FU podcast. If you get on Twitter, use @12FU podcast. And then when you get to Facebook, please find 12FU with Adam and Jake. That's a page. But the one that we want you guys to join in, because this is where we're going to have all the memes, where we're going to have the most interaction, and we generally just talk shit about anything, is going to be 12FU with Adam and Jake,
the group.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I said, one of my best friends is here. Everybody in this room, love you as always. But until next time, I was Adam Ball.
Hey, and I'm Jake, and I want to thank Murphcat one more time for being that really big tomb that has helped us out so much over the years.
I think you meant dick.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. All right, this is the 12FU with Adam and Jake, and I want to remind all you forgetful drunks out there that this is not a wrestling podcast.
Hanging out till 4 a.m., sitting there, doing nothing, smoking cigarettes, talking to that mic. The coffee at the bar, just play it cool. Another customer walking in, arrives one last time. They've got me captivated. Now one more cup to go. No, I'll never forget these coffees and the cigarettes. One last night at times. No, I'll never forget how it feels to be a regular. Out till 4 a.m., sitting there, doing nothing, smoking cigarettes, talking to that mic.
That's me.
Coffee at the bar, just play it cool. Another customer walking in, arrive me one last time. They got me captivated. Now one more cup to go. Coffees and the cigarettes. One last night at time. No, I'll never forget how it feels to be a regular. cigarettes while talking to that mic. That's new, motherfucker! Coffee at the bar, just play cool. There's another customer walking in. Arise me one last time. While they got me captivated. Now one more cup to go. Now I'll never get these coffees and the cigarettes. One last night at a time. So I'll never get how it feels to be regular.
You see, this is why we don't have nice things.